Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to a late stream this evening. Some family events meant that I couldn't start any earlier, and now I've got a problem where Twitch won't even show me a stream. So I don't actually know what you guys are going to be looking at, I'm afraid. I can't see my own stream, I can't see anybody else's stream, because all Twitch wants to do is to try to play me an ad, which it's not doing, and therefore won't show me the stream. So I don't know what's going on. It's just going round and round and round, doing the waiting thing, which is annoying me somewhat terrible. I couldn't watch a video last night because of that. Anyway, so that's going to be most disconcerting. And now I've got used to seeing my own video, then not being able to see it is going to be a bit odd. But we shall just have to see how it goes. So I'm going to be doing some more grass tonight. Well, we may or may not get far enough tonight now to add any green to the grass, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start by sharpening this instrument. Fear Reaper 7, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. I got here eventually. Don't know if you caught it, but I can't watch my own stream, which is really weird. Not that I particularly normally do watch my own stream, if you see what I mean, but it's always useful just to check what you guys are seeing. I don't know what it is Twitch have changed, but they've changed something. Yeah, it's not browser specific because I've got two different browsers doing exactly the same thing. It'll show the stream, but you know it normally starts up to show the stream, and then I'll move this camera so you can see me as well. You know it normally starts up to show the stream, and then we'll flip to an advert. Well, it's flipped to the advert, only it's not playing the advert, it's just playing the circular thingy which says, you know, buffering if you like, and it'll sit like that for hours. Let's see if I can force it with continuous retries. You'd think they'd work out that if it can't get an advert or hasn't played one for despite trying, it would just give you video and not switch to try and continue switching to the advert. Ooh, I'm annoyed. It's unusual for me. I'm guessing you don't have a problem because you're watching the stream. Dear, let me move the camera a little bit. It's been adjusted as this, so there we go. Tilt it to what I'm doing. Yeah, that's not bad. So just filling in grass, but it's really disconcerting to have the setup changed at the last second. Anyway, I trust you're no, just me. What can I say? So how's your weekend been, or today been there for you, Reaper, and how's that final render going? Oh, what was the saying on TV now? It must have been the Crankies, I think it was. I could crush a grape. Thank you. And good. And oh, well, that's even better. No complaints yet. 84 guy, good evening. I think that proves it. I don't think Eddie's having a problem with the stream, so it's just me. I can't see streams. Or rather, I can't see the adverts. Not that I want to see the... I'm going to have to install ad blocker just to mean I can watch Twitch. Which seems a bit pointless, but... Especially as you know, the lifeblood of Twitch is adverts. You'd make the... Well, I always reckon they'd make sure that they played okay, even if the stream didn't. It doesn't seem true. Yeah, well that's what I'm getting, AD. I'm getting an advert buffer, but it's been running now... I've been streaming for 13 minutes. And it's been buffering for 15, and I cannot get a stream at all. I'll get to about 2 seconds before the advert kicks in and starts buffering, and I cannot get rid of it. And it's not just my stream. It happened to me last night, and I couldn't watch or anything. Ah, that's good for you, Reaper. Do we get to see this one, or is it a secret project? So if there's anybody who has an answer to stopping these adverts buffering, then I'd be pleased if you'd let me know. Otherwise I'll have to install ad blocker to do it. Yeah, that's true. Well, it's a bit of a loose thing, isn't it? Because it means they don't charge the streamer to stream either. So it supports them, I guess, in a way, kind of, sort of like... I mean, the infrastructure, streaming infrastructure isn't cheap, you know. It's got to be paid for somehow. You know, whilst adverts do kind of annoy me, I kind of don't mind them because I understand that they have to be there, otherwise Twitch either wouldn't exist or we'd be charged for it. So, from that perspective, but it's get it right, or if you're not going to play it, time it out, give me the stream. Fix your problem. And I'm going to say it's at Twitch end because it's two different browsers running two different decoders. So there's Chrome running its own decoder, and there's Windows running Adobe's decoder. So Don't think it's at my end. Quite happy to be proved wrong. I can watch, if somebody does that, I can watch Twitch. Let's rub a bit of this black dust into the white. It just tones it down a little bit, which looks a little bit better, makes it a bit grey. I think it looks a bit better. It doesn't look, at this end, it doesn't look quite as white. Doesn't stand out. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at this. Oh, it's a movie. Okay. That's not bad. Not bad at all. You got disc brakes and all four. That's good. Low profile tyres. Can't quite see the logo on the back, but that looks quite good, does that, for your Reaper? Okay, I didn't actually notice what it was on. Oh. Indeed, it was running 360. It still looked good at 360. Now I'm going to wait for it to rebuffer. Okay, let's do that. There's a bit of glow around the door handles. I probably can't run 60 FPS, and if I try and run 60 FPS when I'm watching YouTube videos, it usually stutters on my end. I can run 1080p. I can run 1080p on 2 or 3 streams or 2 or 3 videos on 3 monitors, but I can't run 60 FPS. Can't work that one out. Samink Gamink, good evening. Welcome to the studio. But yeah, I like that. I noticed there was a whilst the outlines glow, just around the door handles there's an actual projected light rather than just the tubes glowing, so that looked quite nice. I'm looking at this and going, I've still got another half of it to do. I wonder what's most interesting, watching it rendered or watching me do grass. I'm trying to throw in sort of a little bit of variability as to the angle of the grass. I don't really want to do it all straight up and down. You kind of, if I was doing it with a pencil it wouldn't look right, so since I'm doing it with this, I'm sort of doing them at slight angles like little X's or curves, just to mean that it doesn't look like everything's stood like vertical soldiers. Oh, well, 21 minutes, he's still trying to buffer this advert. If I was partnered at this point, I would be really annoyed. Yeah. It's kind of not too bad. I would like to see my on stream back, but I can't see it at all. So, but at least I can see it going out, which is something. But I can tell it's going to, well, the fact that there's a spinny thing going round in front of me is going to annoy me all evening. What I should do is take a deep breath, let it go. I can be angry later when I'm trying to watch a stream. Somebody's just gone live. Yeah, I keep doing that, AD. I've done it about 10 times now. It's still... best I get is I'll get a second or two of stream and then it'll click straight back into the advert. Colour with... yeah, Control F5 or just Control R. Copy of the car with a different colour light. Well, if I was doing that, what I would probably do is go to a video program, video editing, put a colour overlay on it to change the colour. Unless of course it's a physically won't change the colour that far, but change the colour and then just render out the movie rather than render the whole thing again. The sort of thing that just crossed my mind there is trying to have to sort of draw well, wallpaper, I guess, unless you're doing moving wallpaper, static wallpaper. But the sort of thing that just crossed my mind would be to do something like start with a white car and then split it so that the white car or the car stays where it is, and let's say a red car drives off, leaving a what would it be, a yellow car, because you've just taken red away from it, then drive a blue car off, leaving a green car, and then drive that off, or do something like that, or it's a rainbow, take a, drive the red one off, it becomes orange, drive an orange one off, and so on, that sort of thing. But yeah, static wallpaper. Well, the nice thing is, I guess you're doing it on the black as well. You can always chroma key on the black, or effectively do the same thing with the static, and you can overlay them, or put 2 or 3 in the same frame without having to. Because I'm assuming what you'd probably be doing is sort of shrinking them and stacking them side by side in a frame. But then you could overlay them. Oh, it was just a random thought of thinking of sort of how can you sort of put multiple cars into the same movie without going really ridiculous in trying to just something different. and that's what it just struck me was just like a car driving off, and the colour change, you know, the one that's left changes because some of the colour's been taken away. It was a, I don't know, just a random thought. I thought it was going to work just then. She'll have to try something like reboot the PC or something. It's probably got a funny cookie or something like that it's got stuck on. Oops. Right, just to be different, I'm just going to start down at this end. Do something in a different place for a bit. I remember not to follow the angle of the path, but to actually do the grass in a relatively vertical. So I don't. When I went around the curve, I didn't want to be doing the grass in this direction. I needed to continue to do it this way because grass still grows upwards. It doesn't follow perspective. Ray America, here, welcome, good evening, and nice to see you in the studio. Thank you for dropping in. I'm getting kind of jealous of all you guys who can actually watch Twitch. Oh dear. No, you can vaguely see the path. I'm just making sure that the grass goes over what is sort of the edge of it. That's there, so that it doesn't look like I've sort of gone up to it and stopped. So you can almost see some of the path through the edge of the grass because you can see some of the scratches. So it sort of really looks like it's gone all the way up to the grass edge, and sorry, the edge of the path, and sort of starting to grow over a little bit. Helps join them together, and it. If I tried to go up to the edge and stop, what would have happened is I'd have probably ended up with a little black line around it, and that would have looked kind of unnatural. Still not sure what I'm going to do on this side here, because this is kind of like stones that are starting to fall away a little bit, shall we say, or the mortar has started to drop out, so I kind of not quite sure. Probably some sort of, I was going to say some sort of slight hill or something. I'm not sure whether I can execute that sort of properly as a design idea, so what I may just do is put some more bricks in there But decisions, as they say. I shall decide at some point, probably just before I actually go ahead and do it. Right, well, at least that's that bit joined up. So going over the edge of the board actually is quite difficult. I know it sounds like an odd thing, but trying to get the scratch to go right to the edge of the board, it's almost as though the tool just jumps the last bit and it doesn't actually carry the scratch right over the edge, and it's actually quite difficult to do it. You end up pressing down a little bit more than you want to. So what I probably will have to do is, sort of as adjusted there, is come back afterwards and just right along the edge just add in some more scratches. I guess it's just something to do with the way that the pen works on, acts on the edge. So one of the things I'm trying not to do is to be too heavy with this, and so I'm probably not holding it in such a way that a scratch is properly made when I go off the edge. So you can probably see it there, like a little black line right across the bottom. And I was trying. Don't know if it's kind of like maybe the bottom of the edge of the corner of the board is just being pressed away slightly, so I'm not scratching it properly, and then it springs back maybe. I don't know what the exact mechanism is, but as you can see, it still sort of seems to be showing up as a black line. It's not bad, that's a bit better now. I'll take a bit of that black dust, just rub it in. So I'm even recycling the waste. The thought that just crossed my mind then was, when somebody copies a picture, there's obviously talk about copyright and stuff like that. What if you could use the excuse that you were recycling an old image? I don't think you can. Copyright's an interesting subject in its own right, especially on Twitch, because whilst copyright holders are often, shall we say, they don't necessarily always fully enforce the copyright for people that decide that they'd like to just paint themselves something that looks similar. It comes under sort of a fan art, which is not really allowed anyway, but it's quite a few people, quite a few copyright holders will tolerate that. It's when money starts getting exchanged, and Twitch is an interesting one because money's being made out of the art which they're not receiving. So even for example, if I drew a copyright image, I never intended to sell it. It was still quite liable for people to come back on that copyright thing, especially because Twitch is making money. Well, they're not making any out of the advert that they still haven't yet managed to play to me yet. I think I missed that comment, Fear Reaper. I don't think that will work. I am now thinking back, wondering what on earth it was I said that might not work. Give this a shot. Oh yeah. No, it doesn't. But it just struck me, recycling. Recycling is good these days, isn't it? Recycle plastic, paper, and recycling the black dust. Just one of those silly thoughts that cross my mind occasionally. For some reason this tip is managing to create two parallel scratches at the same time. Potentially it's not bad because it's doing half the work for me, but I prefer to have just the one. Mrs. Wembley, to give a very obscure quote for which I'm sure not many people will understand. Alright, well, rather than this thing annoying me by creating two scratches at the same time, I'm going to use it. I'm going to try and use it. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's doing that. Ah, you're going to have a go at doing some jewellery work, are you? Oh, that's excellent for America. Were you talking to Adi about those earlier the other week, was it? I'm sure she'll be really pleased with that. Take your time when you close them, and make sure you can try and close up the gaps as much as you can, and that the two sides of the rings are lined up. That way they won't show any of the silver core, and it will look a lot nicer because you won't get sudden flashes of silver. Okay. Chainmail cross. No, I've not seen those before. I've seen, I think I've probably seen something, but there's obviously various patterns that you can use to create them. So okay, I tend to hang around in quite a few chainmail streams these days, and you see the same people popping up around. Obviously, if you're interested in it, that's what happens, but it's sometimes hard to remember where you've seen something said. So you're going for some nice colours, or is it going to be a silver cross? And you intend to put it on a chain, or is it just like a going to be a freestanding cross, or some sort of brooch type of thing? I guess I've contributed to that as well. I'm not sure actually so many. Oh, okay, that sounds very nice. Very America. I'm not sure. I was going to say, I'm not sure how many people started doing it. I think a lot more people started streaming doing it. Well, it seems to be like that. Although I must admit, I've only seen a couple of other people try it, and it's not been something I've seen a lot of. I mean, there's always Captain, was it Mr. Boombati? Of course, he's doing true. So he's doing armor type mail. So okay. Well, that royal blue, silver goes very nice with the royal blue. As just the two together. I don't know about anything else really, without it looking a bit sort of gaudy. Because I mean, the blue and green are a nice combination, but they're not. I don't think they suit something like a cross very well. But something like the silver might, or possibly. Well, no, maybe the white's a bit too blue. So actually, no, I'd probably have to sit down and study. Put a pile of them together just to see. I mean these things. Like this. So you have that on your finger. Yeah, well, AD's probably got more experience. I don't think I'd want to try and use them for connecting. For closing rings. Opening rings, yes, they're great. They can be. I've kind of got used to two pliers, but I know AD uses one quite a bit, just for opening the rings. I'm not sure they'd do very well for closing, because when you're closing a ring, for those people that don't know, you want to push it together slightly. It's not just a twist. You actually want to push it together slightly sometimes to close the gap, and you can't do that with this. You can twist it, but you can't close it. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, AD's probably got more experience. I kind of not that sure it adds much speed wise either, to be honest. I suppose it's a bit like holding your pliers in one hand while you're doing it, so, but I've not played with it a great deal. Yeah, I think they just twist together, and you'd still see literally a gap between them. And you kind of want to close that gap as much as possible. A, because of the flash, but of the silver, but you'll notice there's not much of a gap when you get the rings, and yet they still manage to get entangled with each other. So if they can get in, they can get out. That's a nice design, Eddie. That's one of the things I find so fascinating about the rings is things like that, where you can you know, just changing like the gauge of a ring can change how a piece of, you know, well, I don't like calling it chainmail because everybody kind of thinks of that as armour stuff. So, but you know, jewellery or something like that, changing the something like the gauge or the diameter of certain rings, and you can completely change how the piece works. You know, whether it's flexible or it goes solid, or you know, whether it twists one way or whether it twists another way. And they're just round bits of metal, and I find it fascinating. I know there's probably a lot of physics involved if you wanted to sit down and work out just how all this works, but it's just amazing the patterns you get out of it. Yeah, it is right. I'm in the UK, Ray America. I was about to say can't you tell from the accent, but then I thought how I'm terrible at working out where accents come from, so I stopped. uh, the fleur de lis is a heraldic symbol, so it does have a meaning. I can't remember what it is, but for some reason it's also used elsewhere on some product packaging, I think, and I can't remember what it is. Okay, there's another use for it then. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Louisiana? Any particular do you know any particular reason why that may be associated that way, Ray America? Okay, well that kind of makes sense. I wondered if there was any sort of French connection, but American history is it's not something I know a great deal about, but I know it's kind of a fascinating and diverse one. All yours, 84 guy. Middle East. A lot of people I end up hearing from and talking to a lot of people on Twitch who have literally sort of spent their lives going into different countries and living in different countries. And I'm kind of the opposite. I've been in Yorkshire all my life. I mean, I've gone on holiday to other countries, but I've never had any particular real desire to work or live in any other particular country. I mean, it's easy enough to look at another country and go, oh, it'd be nice to live there. I mean, a lot of people in the UK will go things like, it'd be nice to live in Spain because of the sunshine and what have you. But then you get people who live in Spain and love to come to the UK because it's you get rain occasionally and things like that. So I think it's the grass is always greener on the other side of the pond or the wall, isn't it? So somebody else's country is always more fascinating, probably until you live there. I think I probably was slightly tempted, shall we say, to live in the odd different country. As it happened, sort of America came to mind because I've always been interested in space and NASA, so that sort of and the various things like JPL and stuff like that around there, but not serious enough to actually want to move. And for some reason, Australia has always fascinated me, but that's probably I probably wouldn't be as interested in living there if I had visited. Do you see what I mean? Because I think it's like everything else here in the UK. I can think of Australia. I can think of sort of Ayers Rock and Sydney, the Sydney Harbour, Opera House, the bridge, the Barrier Reef, and all of these sort of places. And wouldn't it be nice to be able to? And yet, I'm in the UK, and there's loads of places. As famous or maybe not, But the tourist attractions, if you like, that I've never been to. Places like Stonehenge. Never been to Stonehenge. It's not till just fairly recently I went down to Tower Bridge. And things like that, I'm sure it's just an odd thing. Texas, eh? Well, of course, the stereotype of Texas is everything's big, isn't it? Again, that's the stereotype. I know very little about Texas. Again, stereotype is oil associations, and that's about it. Don't really know a lot. To be honest, I'd be hard pressed to say where it was in the States. Well, that wouldn't be one reason why I'd visit Fear Reaper. I have no interest at all in that at all. Yeah, that's kind of true, as you say. I mean, the States obviously are as big as Europe, is almost, in terms of size, and it's all one country. We obviously have all the passport controls and things, but yes, you're right. There's the Channel Tunnel now has a rail link to France. So in theory, it's now possible to walk all the way from the UK to France. In theory, yes, if you walk through the Channel Tunnel. I didn't say you were allowed to. I said in theory. Although I suppose if you didn't sit down on the train while it was going through the Channel Tunnel, does that mean you've actually walked all the way? That sounds like a real long journey. Bubbles the Monkey! Hey, I didn't see you pop into the stream. Welcome, good evening. Okay. Won't be able to guess then. Well, I could kind of see both of those being true. If it's making a good living doesn't mean you necessarily enjoy doing what you're doing to make a living. So, but what made it bad to drive through? Again, it's a bit of a stereotype, but quite often those of us in England kind of wonder why the Americans drive everywhere, even sort of what would be fairly short distances, and yet there again you go and drive state to state, which is several hundreds of miles at the very least sometimes, and that's quite an amazing journey, really. Okay. None of which are very good at all, Bubbles the Monkey. Yep, all of which stem from the first. Well, my my first thought would be whether that was a true story or not, but yeah, I can understand it being quite scary and ugly scenery. Mm. Ah, okay, that makes it really scary. That, did you used to live out there, Bubbles? Yeah, not very nice at all. Not very nice at all. I kind of say it can happen anywhere, not just Texas, but it's scary. It's in some ways the fact that I'm going to say guns are commonplace in America makes it scary, and yet most of the time it's not something you're going to come across, I guess. But it does make you think about it a little bit. I mean, in some states it's illegal to conceal carry, isn't it? And it all has to be open. It's the old thing: guns don't kill people, people kill people. Um, you can. There are lots of tools that you can use for good, and you can use them for bad. The the thing the comment about knives there, the one that I always, there's a film, Crocodile Dundee, and there's one scene in there with the knife. If you've seen it, you probably remember where it comes up, somebody comes up to him with a knife trying to mug him, a knife, and he sort of, if I remember rightly, he looks down and goes, that's not a, now, and he pulls from behind his back this sort of 4 foot long knife or whatever. It's a long knife. Now this is a knife. uh, yeah, there's a streamer, not streamer, a YouTuber I watch. EEV blog, and he's an Australian, and he's a electronics expert, nerd, whatever you want to call him. He's really big, and I enjoy watching his streams. And he does a mailbag, a post once a week, and he has one of those knives which he uses to open the post, and quite often will actually comment, because people keep asking him, is that the Crocodile Dundee knife? And it is the Crocodile Dundee knife, not the real one, but of the same type. So yeah. I don't know whether that's necessarily true about getting rid of one means you get rid of the others, and it depends on the knife. I mean, certain knives are legal in the UK, others are not. Lock knives are illegal, um, and certain knives are illegal unless they're part of your job and you're carrying them in a safe manner. Yeah, I don't know. It's a valid argument. I mean, it is valid, but there again, you can do the same thing with a car. So, it's not the tool; it's the person, and it always will be the person. Whatever it is, if you remove access to one tool, then another one will be found. Yeah. It's I mean, you can get into sort of hysteria of things sometimes like that for America, but yeah, Australian, difficult. Captain Dobie, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. I'm just going to do a little bit more of this. I'm getting closer to finishing this bit of grass. I was kind of about to say I like grass better than guns, but there again that can be misinterpreted, can't it? Because what was said earlier, but a nice lawn. Best thing is to avoid it altogether, Ray America, if you can. I cannot qualified to say really, not having lived anywhere else other than the UK. It's I'm not really able to make any sort of judgment on it. And I guess you don't really know what a place is like until you do, so sometimes that can be a little bit of a it's kind of chicken and egg. You don't almost like to live there until you live there, and you don't want to live there until you know what it's like to live there sometimes. So yeah, can be quite a lot of culture shock. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like living in the UK. You don't have the problem of needing medical insurance. What do you mean by America? What's the percentage of it, or the fact that we've got it? Of course, the rate in the UK for income tax depends on how much you get paid. It changes as you go up. I'm trying to remember now. It's really hard to remember. For something like, we're talking about UK pounds here, you get something called a personal allowance, which is it's around somewhere around £5,000, which so the first £5,000 of money that you earn from any source isn't taxed. Then I think it's 20% up to another level, and I don't remember what that level is. Then somewhere around sort of £50,000 income, it goes up to 40%. I don't think there's another one above that, but I can't actually remember. Is it 10k now, Captain Derby? Okay. Also depends, and then yeah, national insurance, which in theory pays for the National Health Service, which is kind of like compulsory health insurance, comes out of your wage as well. That again is a percentage, but only up to a certain amount, at which a certain amount of wage, and then it's capped. It stops at a certain value. Oh, and as I explained, it's actually a little bit more complicated, because your first bit is tax free, then you've got 20% tax for a certain amount, but when you move to the 40% tax, the 40% tax only applies to the amount above that threshold, not to all of it, which gets a bit confusing. Is there another one, Captain Derby? I'm not near any of these, so Yeah, well, they've been all over the place, Captain Derby, at various times. I think at one time there used to be a really ridiculous one at about 90% or something like that for £1 million or stuff like that. I can't remember. Okay, for you, Ripper, have a good evening watching your movie. See you again another time. God, I'm doing it off frame again. No, it's okay, America, but stay on the safe side of controversial, and that'll be okay. Okay, default guy, that's... Oh, you... Because it's been a long day then. Have a good evening. Yeah, hopefully you have a quiet night, Bubbles the Monkey. Do they work, Eddie Fall Guy? Well, I've just managed the hay. Just collecting up there some of the that's the amount of dust which has come off this board tonight, because I cleaned the desk before I started the stream, but that's you'd think there'd be more than that when you look at actually how much is white just around here, but there's a small pile of dust. Anyway, it's now coming up to nearly 10:30 here in the UK. I finished off that grass for around here, so it seems like a good place to stop for tonight. I think tomorrow night I will try painting this green with the green ink, and we'll see what it looks like and maybe scrape some more on it, then decide. I know there's, in theory, we ought to put something around here, maybe a little bit of grass, just something to tie the back of the cottage down, and I really have to decide what to do with this area around here. But then apart from that, we've just got a few finishing touches to do, I think, and we'll see how it goes from there. Oh, that's good, Eddie. Good to know. Evan V909. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's a little late. I'm just about to stop, but that's how far we've got this evening. I know we need to do something with the windows as well. And Captain Derby, thank you very much for that. Well, I would like to think so, but I'd like to think so. So yes, I might actually increase the path brightness as well. It's a little bit dark, and looking at it here, I've been looking at it for a couple of days now, and it's a little bit dark, and it's got a little bit of a look of as though it's a river. Doesn't look as good as I might hope, so I think what I'll do is increase some of the brightness in the between the stones, much like we did in the cottage itself, just so that they don't look quite so much as stones in a river. But that's about it, I'm afraid, for tonight. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to do the usual advert, and that's just to say to anybody that's watching it who isn't following me, if you would like to do so, that would be fantastic. I'd be grateful for that, but if you don't want to, it's okay. If you'd just like to be notified when I go live, you can follow me on Twitter. I do tweet when I go live, not when I have my breakfast. So any tweets will be related to art or to crafting and stream. But on the other hand, if you'd just like to try and catch me on my next stream, which should be tomorrow night, from around about 8 PM usually in the UK, that's 1900 hours GMT, or if you want to take a look at your clock wherever you are now, in whatever time zone, subtract 2.5 hours, that would be 8 o'clock in the UK, and it will be that time hopefully tomorrow night. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again on the next stream. Bye bye.